All right, guys. Thanks for bearing with us. I apologize. But it wasn't my fault this time. I've had plenty of times when it was my fault, but this time it wasn't my fault. Uh, so, real quick, I'm Dave Lowe. I'm the CEO of isiFederal here in Maryland. I have with us our guru of GSA, Jamie Zell. You've been hearing from Jamie as he stalled for me excellently, I might add. So he's with us to talk about GSA stuff. The magic numbers are 14. And that's not for the Orioles because the magic number for Orioles is one because we're gonna clinch tonight hopefully. So anyway, magic numbers for the rest of us: 14, 379, and I'm throwing another one in there, 744. And we're going to be talking about those numbers real quick. We'll talk about the sponsors here. We'll talk about what's happening now. We're not. This is last month's screen. So we'll talk about the sponsors first. So isiFederal, we do business development in the federal space, usually better than these webinars are coming off today. As a matter of fact, it starts with intelligence. We do vehicle development and certification development. We provide marketing services. We advise, assist, and manage folks within the marketplace to help you and your team operate effectively. We also provide dedicated representation in DC, where we provide a turnkey business development solution so you don't have to ruin your whole entire business development process just to go after the federal government. And we have a successful track record booking direct and indirect sales as prime and sub to prime. Also, we have Revolution and Payments. They do merchant cards. I don't know if Sean is with us. I don't see Sean here, but that doesn't mean he won't pop in. Sean runs Revolution Payment Service. If you're accepting credit cards, in fact, I was with CMS yesterday with their P card holders, and we were talking about this very thing, where you have level 3 compliance, the being able to provide them with exactly what they need so that they can make the purchases faster, and it costs you less money. So reach out to Revolution Payment Systems as well. Real quick, some housekeeping pieces. If you have any questions, open up that panel on the right-hand side that you have there, and you can ask us questions for the entire stage. Just pop it in there, and we'll be able to see those. And also, if you called in on the phone, I don't know how many did. I see Pamela did, and you got to put in your audio pin in order for us to be able to have dialogue with you. Again, I apologize for what happened earlier. I think GoToWebinar was down. So why are you here today? And if you want to test your capabilities of being able to do this, pop open that thing and open that question panel and tell us why you're here today. And while you're doing that, we will talk about some of the folks that already responded with that. But go ahead and tell us why you're here, because we want to make sure that we cover what you'd like to. Sandra, if I figured out how to get a sale, great. We appreciate that, Sandra. Rob Wongard, increased sales by 20%. He's a client, so he's pushing. Ronald, if I could make contacts to grow business, great. I love it. We talk about some contacts here in the federal space. Scott Rice, how do I best market or search for opportunities to sell off my GSA schedule? Barath, how I get a strategy as how small companies should target the opportunities without agency past performance. Great, because past performance is critical, right, Barath? So if we don't have correct past performance when we're doing our responses, how are we going to get that? But it's catch-22, right? How can you get past performance if you don't win a contract, for crying out loud? So great. Paul, I've gotten the we post to FBO and monitor FBO responses to market. So you're calling in, you're talking to these folks, right, Paul? So, and they're saying, hey, we post everything to FBO. Is that true? No, it's not true. When we get meetings, they come up with the same statement. So I've given up marketing and just want to watch FBO and eBuy. What else is there to do? Excellent questions. The objective here, absolutely, Paul, get ahead of all that stuff. Make sure you're building a relationship with those folks that we can actually find those things that aren't hitting FBO and they're flying under the radar. If I could get more sales with my GSA contract from John. Nancy, have not been able to sell the required $25,000 per year and looking at losing the contract. This is not an unfamiliar thing for most folks that are dealing with GSA, and you get 2 years to get the $25,000. So we'll talk about a little bit about that too. So Danielle, how we find a procurement is wired. Oh my gosh, this is great. Before wasting precious time in proposal development. Rule number 1, if you didn't wire it, somebody else did. That's the rule. So you've got to get in there and wire that for yourself. Barbara, this webinar included forecasts based upon expiring task orders or BPAs under the schedule. We have information on that. We're not going to cover that today, Barbara, but we do have the capacity for finding that. Real quick, Pamela says increase sales. Anybody else want to pop in there on the right-hand side? 93% of the folks that we work with or come here need help with business development, so that's what we're talking about. Pamela will talk about increasing sales as well. We're here to get your GSA schedules to pay off. I love this picture. It's my favorite. Getting that success. Grow your federal sales. Increase your business value so that you can start to transition if you want to transition out. It's a great way to increase your business value for your exit strategy. And most importantly, putting some of those tax dollars back in your bank account. Hey, we're paying, and there's nothing more irritating than your tax dollars going into your competitor's bank account. So with driving GSA sales, we're at the last one for 2014. This is a recap of all the things that we've done for this year, and we'll give you some tips on things right now. First of all, earlier this year, we have a free ebook that you can get to. We talk about debunking the federal myths. It's free. Go to isiFederal.com. Talk about why 80% fail, how the winners do it, step-by-step processes for being able to improve your business development process, and finding some additional opportunities with links and resources. So it's free. You go to isiFederal.com. We've also talked about the enormous federal marketplace. You hear it all the time, right? $500 billion, 2.5 million contracts. Interesting about that 2.5 million contracts in conjunction with the FBO. Only about 120,000 hit there. So where are the rest of the 2.5 million? So that's some of the things that we talked about this year as well. So 23% is supposed to be set aside for small business. It's $115 billion. They buy everything all around the world. We all know about this federal marketplace. And there's so much money out there. We've been talking about it all year long. Why is it so doggone hard to get our hands on some of that and put it into our business as opposed to our competitors' business? We talked about the fact that the system is wired against you. The incumbents are keeping you away. And not only that, the whole process, the GSA, SBA, the whole piece is wired against newcomers. It's very difficult for you to get your foothold in the federal space. GSA schedules don't make money fall from the sky. Almost everybody that's here that has a GSA schedule is having the same issues. You got to go out and go get that money. You got to go get it. You got to build that business, and it takes time. And if it were fast, easy, and cheap, everybody would be able to do it. Mentioned it before, 80% will fail. 80% of current GSA schedule holders that just came on board will fail. That's the cold, hard truth, because it's not fast, it's not easy, and it's not cheap. We've talked about that. The fact that people buy from people they like. It doesn't change in the federal government. It happens the same way all over the place. You've got to get out there and get them to like you. That's your job. If you can get them to like you, boom, you're in business. And there are thousands and thousands of buyers out there. 85,000 buyers. So they're the ones that you have to go get. Now, which one make the most sense for you? These are key decision clusters. We talked about this. Around your project, you have your program managers, your technical representatives, and you have your contracting officers. Each one of those have different needs based on their roles and who they are as people. They have different buying motives, different reasons for making decisions. We talked about how you can build rapport with these people, making sure that your message is solid. We talked about the who that matters to you. Who is spending the money on what you do? Don Wheatley here. This is IT Securities, $4.5 million in a given year. Matthew Butcher, $1.7 million. These are the folks that matter most to you. We've talked about them. Not only that, we've talked about your competitors' customers. We've talked about who is buying from your competition and how you can go and see who that is. I forget who it was that asked it earlier. My brain is running 1,000 miles per hour right now. The folks that are buying from your competitors, that it's baked for your competitors. Here you have Brenda Musgrove buying from your key competitor to the tune of $387,000. Being able to see who those folks are, to know whether or not it's wired. That's another reason for doing it. We talked about capabilities, having a one-page slick with your contact information, your contract information. Make sure that it's resonating with your contracting officers and your program people so that when you're out in front of these folks, you can point directly to what you do, fast, concise, bullet points, right to what you do, not 7 pages, 10 pages. They don't want to read a whole bunch of different marketing materials, blah, blah, blah. It's like Charlie Brown, wah, 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 when you sit there and you talk about yourself. But if you give it to them in the way that they want to see it, take a look at this. Contract information on the left-hand side and contact information and what you do on the right-hand side. Not complicated, not super sexy. Your marketing people will not really like it all that much, but it's very effective when it comes to marketing to the federal government. We also talked about manufacturing a referral. After you get to these people, you can get in front of these folks and say, hey, we can actually refer, you can manufacture a referral from somebody that you don't know to somebody that you don't know to get to potential targets, to be able to build a relationship by praising them, by getting in front of them, by reinforcing their decision for them to help you and asking them for additional insight. You can go back again, and again. Manufacturing referrals is really a killer way to be able to get in front of folks. We talked about initial calls. Know who you're calling. Know why you're calling. Plan out in your brain so that you're running the scenario through your brain before you pick up the phone. And then when you act as if, you don't say, hello, Mr. Jones, this is Dave Lowe. I am with isiFederal and I would like to, no. You talk as if you know him. Hey, John, this is Dave Lowe. Just wanted to catch up and want to see how things were going. I know it's crazy this time of year. I won't bug you too long, but I want to make sure you had our latest capability statement. You get that email? Boom. Talking about act as if you know them. Act as if they know you and your friends already. It breaks through the barriers of the regular being rejected in your phone calls. Simple, little techniques that can get you through. We talked about that. There's a review of the capability statement again. Sorry. But remember, this is important actually. There are multiple decision makers that you're after when you're talking to these people. You got to know what their motives for buying are. Very important. We also talked about executive procurement briefings. These are ways for you to not only be able to get in front of your folks, but to put yourself in an expert status. And the beautiful thing is you get to touch them 4 to 12 times and it doesn't even matter if they show up. So getting your name out there, brand awareness. As I mentioned yesterday, we're at CMS and we were at a special event at CMS. We were invited and it was with Cartridge Savers, one of our clients. And we're up against Staples and Office Depot. They're marketing all the time to these folks. They're marketing all the time. Not only that, they're on the television and competing. We're trying to compete against Staples and Office Depot that are in everybody's bedroom and everybody's living room every single day on the radio, talking about, easy buttons, all that kind of stuff. How can we break from that and be a disruptor to go in there and take some of that business as a small business when they're spending more on their marketing dollars than all of the small businesses that were in that room yesterday? All of them combined revenue. They spend billions of dollars on marketing. And small businesses don't have that, but this is something that we can do to get in front of folks and make sure that we build brand awareness. And that's one of the techniques that we've used. We've also talked about contract vehicles, GSA, other contract vehicles, BPAs, blanket purchase agreements, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IDIQs. We talked about those to be your ticket to the dance, gathering more and more of those for your ticket to the dance, what they need from you when you have your tickets to the dance, giving your political cover with your approach and your technical cover with your capabilities and your past performance, right? And pricing cover with your vehicle, whether it's with your GSA schedule, which is great, or your IDIQ or your BPA, and developing BPAs from your GSA schedules. This is how you continue to infiltrate and grow. It doesn't end with getting your GSA schedule and then making it easy for them. Packaging your stuff so it's so easy for them to buy from you. So here we have Here we have a bunch of different ways that we've talked about this for this year, and we're talking about right now. Last month we talked about what happens in September. They have to spend every budgeted dime, every single dime. If they don't use it, they're going to lose it. They're going to lose it for this year and next year. Increases in spending activity, especially for new projects. Response times as short as 24 hours. I'm telling you, if you're watching GSA eBuy, watch those times shrink. Those times are turning from several days, a month. A few months ago, it was a month long. You had a month to be able to respond. Now you're down to a few days, and it'll be down to one. By the time you're done, 24-hour turnaround, boom, and you're rocking and rolling. Less competition. Oftentimes now they're competing between just a few. Fast approval has to be done. Has got to be done by 9:30. Has to be done. And you'll see, I know I'm seeing it. If you're not seeing it, you're not looking, because there's weekend activity, overnight activity. We're seeing stuff coming in all the time. And less scrutiny from the Inspector General and GAO, because right now they know that they can't possibly govern everything, right? They can't look over everything. And this is where you get into negotiated pricing. Beautiful thing, right? Where you get to negotiate your price for a change, instead of just saying, okay, we got to stick with this price, or losing on price. Got to get yourself ready for this. So we also talked about what's happening here in September. Look at the baseline spending for reoccurring and maintenance contracts happening throughout the rest of the year. New projects, as I mentioned before, 79% of them coming right now. In the past 3 months, this is when they happen, and most of them are happening right now. 50% of them are happening right now. We talked about how winners win, how you get to the place where you're having sales. This is the hot and cold time of the year, right? It's hot. It's red hot right now. We're in the middle of the biggest spending spree in history, most likely, because the budgets keep on happening, right? Sales keep on happening. And they happen because the winners are applying resources for business development through the times when they're not buying. October, November, December, bad sales months. Not going to buy a whole lot of things in September, even through January, but then it starts to heat up in February or March. Why is that? It happens because of how procurement works and how the budgeting process works. The budgeting isn't even going to get passed until probably December, January, because that's what they do here in DC. So that's what's happening. And the reason, and what you're doing in this time, how the winners are winning, they're marketing, they're following up, they're marketing, following up, working referrals, following up, being a resource, educating the customer, doing procurement briefings, sending out sample scopes of work. Where do you think they get them? Where do you think the scopes of work come from? They come from folks like you and me. We provide those things. Following up, responding to proposals. Even if you have a baked proposal, you still got to file it. You got to turn it in on time. There's a lot of folks that have problems with that as well because of resources. So here we are. This is what they've been doing for the whole time. And your competition has been doing it all year long. All year. So if you think you're just going to pop in on September 16th and say, oh, here I am. No, you're not going to be able to do that. They've been working this system all year. Not only that, most of them have been working it for years. So they have years of time on you. They're in there, they have experience, they have past performance, and they're doing it right now. They have connectivity with the program manager, the contract manager, and the technical representative on a daily basis. What makes you think you can get in there and just walk up and say, oh, I want a piece? Doesn't happen. And that's why the things are happening. And here's how the losers lose. No BD, no sales. It's really a simple process. If you're not applying the resources in October, November, December, January, you're not going to start to see things in February and March. And if you're not applying them all the way through the year, you're going to miss out on July, August, and September. In fact, February and March is really overflow from this past September, where they say, hey, I want to do this, but I don't have any budget. So they'll put it off to the next budget session. And lo and behold, it comes out in February and March. Your October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and June is set up for July, August, and September. Sure, you might land something in between. Great. Bank it. And the more you're out there, the more chances you have of being able to do that. We've talked about growing through September and what growth looks like with successful companies where they have a concerted effort. They apply resources and they break out, usually in September. Imagine that. And now look at the September trends. All these lines on the right-hand side, all this stuff. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can get I can't. All these lines up here, September spending. And this is where you grow. Right now is where the growth is happening. So we've done all that. We've been working all year. We've been talking about it over and over and over again. And now we're at the place where the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks of September. So here's what we can do. Right now, here's what you need to be doing to get yourself ready to do that. First, be ready. Organize your team. Make sure everybody knows what their roles are so that when something happens, you know what you're going to do. The orders can come anytime. Make sure that you're forwarding all those monitoring emails, whatever your email is for GSA, make sure that they're being forwarded to multiple accounts so that everybody has eyes on it. And you're not just relying on one person. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I get busy like this time of year, I'm missing stuff. I'm missing emails. It's just natural. And then somebody will call, did you get that? I'm like, I don't know. So I got to go back and look for it because I get hundreds of emails an hour, hundreds an hour. And sometimes I'm busy in meetings and I know you are too. And we can't monitor everything. So make sure somebody's got a stopgap measure in there and make sure there's multiple people in the food chain so that you know what's happening there. And then establish a response system so everybody knows who's handling what. So if you're spreading it out to everybody, who has first response? Who's the one that's in order? So if it's me that's responsible for it and I miss it, then somebody else has got to respond to that email and say, hey, Dave, did you get this? Because it just came in and we got a short fuse on this because it's only 48-hour turnaround and we got to get this quote in. All right. So that's being ready. So you want to forward your main GSA contact number as well. Every one of you has a main GSA contact number that's listed. And if they know sometimes they say, oh, I want to buy from Dave, but I don't remember. I don't have Dave's stuff right in front of me. But I am logged in and I can find out whose information is on the GSA schedule. If I'm not the one that's supposed to if I'm not listed, or even if I am listed as the contact person, make sure that your phone is ringing simultaneously to multiple people. Okay? And we do it. We have if you call us, boom, our phone's ringing to multiple people. Every one of our team is getting that phone call. A lot of the VoIP systems now, voice over IP systems, have the ability to do this simultaneously, and I love it. And they also do it on cell phones. So it's not just your office phones, it'll ring all your phones. You can ring 8 phones at a time. And whoever picks up first, boom. That's because when the contracting officer calls you, make sure somebody's picking up that phone. All right, monitoring your emails. Last minute deals are going to be coming in. They're going to happen. I'm telling you, if you've been out in front of these people, it's going to happen. People are going to email and say, hey, can you do this? And, are you capable of this? The phone call's coming in same way. They're going to be minimized competition. So it's usually 3 businesses. So they're going to float it out to 3 businesses, either that they know, or maybe they just know one and they're looking for backfill on the pricing. It's okay. I'd rather be one of those 3, even if I'm going to fail, even if they want to have somebody else win. I'd rather be one of those 3 because somewhere along the line, I'm helping that guy out. Right? So it goes out to GSA contract holders and existing BPA holders. So you get BPA calls. You have minimally competed GSA opportunities as well via email. And check your junk mail every several hours. Every several hours. Because if you're not, you may be missing something. And we're talking about critical components here. So check your junk mail. All right. Monitoring GSA eBuy hourly. Now it'll time you out. You know it will if you've been on GSA eBuy. There's so much stuff, especially if you're in IT. There's so much stuff hitting GSA eBuy right now. It's almost impossible to keep up. So last year and currently right now, we're seeing sometimes as many as 3 postings per minute. So you gotta be paying attention. And a lot of these are going to be short turnaround, especially now. It's not going to be more than 2 weeks right now. You're probably at 7 days. We're actually seeing an average about 4 days turnaround right now. And some of those are only 48 hours. So you can see that how this is working. Short turnaround. Forward your fax number to email. Really, really important. This is relatively simple to do, and it can mean the difference between winning and losing. If you don't get that fax, and this goes back to the whole thing with monitoring your emails, have that fax number directed to an email, right? They'll digitize it and send it to email. Then boom, everybody's got eyes on it, right? So the whole team has eyes on it, and you go through your food chain of, okay, if this person doesn't respond within 5 minutes that he's got it, then pass it on to this lady, and pass it on to this lady, pass it on to this guy, and then make sure that you have some sort of order to be able to handle in the team. But the same thing applies here with faxes. And believe me, they're not faxing jack unless there's a reason to fax it, right? And a lot of times that's orders. That's orders, not just, requests for information. So pay attention to that. We lost one several years ago because of that. Weekend watch. Assign your team players to be paying attention. This is really important because we had this happen a couple years ago where we had an opportunity that came out 11 a.m. on a Sunday, 24-hour turn, 11 a.m. on a Monday. If you're not paying attention to that, there's no way you're going to be, even if you come in. Let's say you come in at 9 o'clock. You got 2 hours to do a quick turn. You might be able to make it. But what happens if you don't log in or you're not paying attention? You have your Monday morning meeting and you're not in until 10:30. Boop, you're done. You don't have it. There's no way you're going to be able to respond in time. So assign your team players. Pay attention to emails from here on out through the rest of the year. Short fuse and quick turn. This is no doubt you're going to be down into the 24, 48-hour turnaround. So establish your redundancy. When in doubt, add another person to your monitoring. When in doubt, add your wife, add your sister. I don't care. Add somebody to make sure somebody's paying attention to make sure that the phone's being answered and make sure that the emails are being responded to and monitored and responded to. And you can forward your numbers. Don't turn on your regular voice message system. Forward it to a phone. Forward it to a cell phone. That way you're covered. So the last night watch, which is coming up, September 30th, will be positively the last time that we're looking at this. I'm looking at the exact date and time for this for everybody. That is a Tuesday going into, as you can see, Wednesday morning, 11:29. It's 11:59. I'm sorry. 11:59 Hawaiian time is 5:59 Eastern Standard Time. It'd be a shame if you woke up at 6 a.m., looked at your iPhone, and found out that you missed something that was due a minute ago. So watch your fax, watch your email, keep your phones on. All these pieces, all in, and then I got to fix that freaking thing. All right, so tip 10, double check your response. Everybody is going to be pressed for your responses. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. Huge, huge opportunities. We're working on several that are multi-million-dollar opportunities that have to be done right now. So when you're looking at this, make sure you're double checking your response and make sure you're on time. That's the first thing. It's not even on here. Be on time. Because if you're not on time, you're probably out of the pool, but not necessarily. Make sure your contracting officer knows. We had this happen a couple of Septembers ago where we didn't see something. So I called and I said, and she said, we're waiting on your response. And I said, when's it due? And she said, 11. I never got it. And I said, well, can we turn it in tomorrow? She said, no, but I'll give you till 5. Now, how often do you hear that? So she gave us till 5, we won. And 5, which was actually Central Time, which is 6 Eastern. So we were able to turn that around in one day. So make sure your standard forms are signed. Make sure all your responses are complete and you have all the information that's in there, and check all the check boxes for crying out loud. You know that when you're doing your responses, there's multiple types of responses. Sometimes they want this standard form. Sometimes they want that standard form. Make sure that you have the right stuff, and make sure that if you have the FAR requirements with all those check marks, if they're asking for it. Sometimes they just say, make sure your SAM record is up to date, right? Well, sometimes they're asking you to check things. So make sure you're doing what they're asking you to do and that your response is complete. So those are the top 10 tips that I got for you for today. Real important. Even if you've been doing your BD, all the stuff we've been talking about, everything that we've been saying that needs to happen all year, that doesn't mean you automatically win. You need to be able to respond. You need to monitor. You need to do your research. You need to pay attention to your emails, your phones, and you need to be ready to respond, because you might lose if you're not paying attention. Good. Any questions about that? That was like a fire hose of fire hoses, and I just want to make sure that we can all get back to work. Let's see what Hal says here. Hang on one second, Hal. Hal says, I got the book downloaded. Fantastic. Hey, you're all right, Hal. I appreciate that. So it's fantastic in capital letters. So I appreciate that, Hal. And are you, let me see if I can unmute Hal. Hal, you there?
Yes.
Hey, well, since you're giving me all kind of props for that, what knocked you out the most about that ebook?
Simple. It's very simple to sit and read.
Good. That's because I'm a simple person. I'm simple-minded. No, but I appreciate that. And what do you do, Hal? Let's let everybody know what you do.
We sell to the military. Health medical products.
Medical products to the military. Super. And is there anything in there that you had issue with?
An issue with? Nah, some of it's not as easy as you make it out to be.
Okay, I agree. If it seems easy, I usually start out with a huge disclaimer that this is not easy, fast, or cheap. So
right.
It definitely takes a lot of time, doesn't it? How long have you been doing it?
30 years.
There you go. Somebody that's got experience. And that's the truth, is keeping it full and open for everybody to understand that reframing, how important is it to reframe your mindset from an entrepreneur of saying, hey, we want to do this in 90 days or 6 months or even a year, to 2 and 3 years? How important is that?
Oh, very important.
It's critical.
And you can't think that you know it all because you've been in the business for a long time. I mean, I learned stuff. I listen to you all the time, and I'm learning stuff all the time from it.
And I learn stuff every day from other people too. Listen, man, I guarantee you, we get together for coffee sometime, we'll kick around things. I'll be like, no way. You'll tell me stuff I wouldn't believe, and vice versa. So
I agree with you.
Yeah, and if anybody tells you they know everything or there's a silver bullet, is there a silver bullet, Hal?
Just the Lone Ranger.
That's right. There are no silver bullets in this, and there's no way that you can shortcut the cycle. The cycle exists.
Always be willing to learn.
And learn. I had somebody ask me imagine this. They said, you talk about, there's a lot of acronyms that you're throwing out there. Can you give me a list of acronyms so that we can study it? I said, yeah, sure. No, I'm not giving. You don't want to know. You don't want to know, man. I hear a new acronym every day. I'm like, hold on, what is that? And just, you never know. So I appreciate the props there, Hal. And anything else you'd like to talk about while we're here? Well, we've got a couple minutes.
Actually, I'm doing 2 bids while we're talking.
See that? See, he's doing 2 bids while we're talking. I'm gonna let you get back to work. I appreciate it, Hal. Thanks much. So he's double duty in it. So there you go. So what happens? My question is, we're already through September 2014. If you haven't been doing the things that you're supposed to do, you're probably not going to get a whole lot this month. But to do what you got to do the last 2 weeks anyway, do those things. What happens, Jamie? What happens?
Well,
October 1st.
The smoke finally clears. It looks like a battlefield after all that spending and money rolling around like red hot lava. Things go a little bit quiet, and it all begins again because they get new budgets, and it's time to step up and start right back into it because 2015 is on in 2 weeks and 1 day.
It's like Groundhog Day. Same thing, over and over, over and over and over. We do the same thing over and over, and the only difference is instead of it being insanity, which it is insane, there's a lot of money that's attached to it. So it starts all over, and this is the way where you can get ahead of your competition. You need to be a disruptor in 2015, and this is a new. I didn't coin the phrase of disruptive marketing, but we're going to talk about this throughout 2015 so that you can get in and dislocate your competition. The only way you're going to do that is get in and do something different and wacky sometimes. And you got to shake the tree and you got to irritate some people. I'm telling you, you got to do it. Otherwise, if you follow the same path that everybody else is following, that path is wide. It's packed with people. They're sending you through SBA. They're sending you through the GSA process, and they're saying meet with these people that don't have any decision-making authority and don't have any budget. Get away from that. Get in and start going head-to-head, bashing your competitors over the head and bashing the people in there over the head and making sure they know. And you got to start now. Your competition right now, already for this year, that's winning. They're already at least 12 months ahead. Hal talked about it. He's been in it for 30 years, for God's sake. Been in it for that long. Get in, start now, get ahead of your competition. Where we talked about this, Hal gave me props for this. This is the Going for Gold book. And Hal is absolutely right. It's not easy, but it can be done. It can be done. And the best way that you can do that is get moving now so that you're geared up and moving in 2015 so that you can start to cash in later on in the year. And I'm not talking about quick hits. The people that are there are filtering you out for quick hits. That's one of the things that Hal was talking about without even knowing it. They're filtering you out. They're trying to figure out if you're going to be somebody that's going to stay and be there for them. So we're going to talk now about how you can get smart and prepare. Step one, how you can get smart for 2015, identifying your market, your competition. And you might think you know who your competition is, but I'm telling you, every single time we do this, we find somebody that you didn't even know was just writing $1 million checks. Identify your key contacts that are responsible. Again, the who that matters to you. And we call this isiFederal Market Essentials. This is what we do for everybody for step one. These are the folks that are buying what you sell to the tune of millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of contracts a year, depending on the size. But these are the folks that are hitting your sweet spot and buying from your competition right now. And we identify these as your competition's best customers. And we see folks like Brenda. We talked about Brenda earlier, $387,000 with your competitor. We look at the other under the radar type of agencies. These agencies are still spending millions of dollars. They may be small, but they're all huge in comparison to most of the private sector. So here we are with millions of dollars being spent, and we have their phone numbers and their email addresses. We don't have it right now. We do the research for you. We find it. We have a process for finding that. And to give you an idea, Federal Market, William Scotsman, huge, 25% of the marketplace. They are already successful, dominated the federal market, $80 million in federal sales. They have 80 people all over the country that are selling. They already have a solid federal strategy and all the major databases, GovWin, what's the other one? Bloomberg, all those, Centurion, whoever, right? They're out there, all the major databases. They don't have this information. And that's why we don't put it out in a database format, because it waters it down for everybody. I don't want everybody to know about what we're doing. I don't want everybody to know what you're doing. I want to know where the under the radar contracts are and who the people are that are administering this so that we can go develop a relationship with them, because if they're buying from somebody else, they can buy from me. That's the approach. I don't even care about opportunities. Let me repeat that. I don't even care about opportunities unless we help to craft it. If we didn't craft it, I don't care. If I don't know the person behind it, I don't care, because somebody else is baking that opportunity. It doesn't mean that we don't respond. It doesn't mean that we don't pay attention, because we want to build those relationships. But we want to look at the people behind those. So you can check this out. You can go to isiFederal, the market intelligence package. Just go to services, what we do, federal market intelligence, and bam, this is what you get, and this is how it works, and the prices that are associated with it. And this is step one, your market essentials, and then I'll talk about step 1, 2, and 3A in just a minute. But the market essentials is simple. Key contacts who buy your stuff, your competitors' contacts, under the radar contracts. This is who are releasing these. They got stuff on their desk right now. I'm telling you, right now, they got stuff on your desk. So the breakdown of the agency spending, primes and their contacts, who's buying from the primes so that you can get to them, and the recommended action steps on how you can get to them. If you want to do it yourself, this is your do-it-yourself package. You can absolutely, positively begin your strategy or enhance your strategy. You can absolutely do it. All right. Say $505, $39.95, a bargain at any price. All right. So the next part I'm going to talk about isiFederal finds things we simply can't find on our own. This is another one of our customers, Link Services. They're Inc. 500, $70 million company. We find things they simply can't find on their own. And then after that, we provide you the capacity to do something about it. There's a lot of folks that just say, here you go, have fun. If you want that, here you go, have fun. But if you need some help, and most companies do, we got into this because small businesses need what we do. We do the grunt work for getting out in front of these people. And this goes to steps 2 and 3A, which is find who buys your stuff, dedicate some resources to going after those people, and then go after them with introductions and marketing. And then your job is to stay after them. This gets you through what you need to do right now to start to maximize your 2015. So this includes your market essentials that we talked about before, the people that buy your stuff, all the under the radar stuff, being able to find those, right? Do a capabilities review to say, okay, what are you saying to these people? What are you giving these folks? And then an email marketing process where we will market you out with an introduction, with a first follow-up and a second follow-up. And about effectiveness of this, generally we're between 8 and 12% of dialogue, where people are saying, okay, send me some additional information. Hey, do you do this? Magic words. Do you do this? And these are the types of things that at least jumpstart your ability to be able to get out in front of people and find the people that matter most and talk with them. And some of the things that you was mentioned before about the meetings and getting together with people, getting past that whole FBO blow-off crap. Not everything hits FBO. You know it. I know it. They know it. Call them on it. Be able to tell them, hey, I know there's still a lot of stuff that doesn't hit FBO. What happens with the stuff less than $25,000? Find out about that and talk about some other pieces. Again, we save you some bucks on that. Save $1,101. So $52.49. This is a complete process that takes you through your market essentials all the way to the introductions, email introductions. We do additional things as well. We continue the follow-up. We can do a turnkey business development solution if you want. Right? So there's $55 billion going to be spent in the next 14 days. There's $555 billion going to be spent in the next 379 days. And $1 trillion is going to be spent over the next 744 days. You have the opportunity to expand your horizons, take it out of the entrepreneurial mindset and get into that 2 to 3 year cycle. And you start seeing crazy dollars. And a lot of money is being spent on what you do. And developing the relationships, as Hal said, nothing easy. If it was fast, easy, and cheap, everybody be able to do it. And they can't. So we can help you do that. So pick one of these, get moving. You can get out there in front of it, get ahead of the curve. Get ahead of the curve for 2015 and start developing that. Put it into your strategy. If you don't have budget for it this year, make sure you're budgeting for it for next year. Budget for your fiscal year. If you're not sure what to do, call me. I have a budget resource allocation worksheet, and it'll tell you exactly how much you should budget. for you, where you are. Depends on where you are, but it'll tell you what to budget for. So step 1, market essentials. Step 2, 1, 2, 3A, market essentials plus blitz will get you out in front of people quick, starting in the middle of October. We'll get you started. All right, so that makes sense. So there you go. Pick one of those. There's a webinar special again, $52.49 for that. And then the next webinar is October 21st, 2014. It will be New Year. We are changing from 2014 to 2015. It's Christmas right now. Christmas is right now. Happy New Year at the end of this month. And we're going to be talking about disrupting your competition in 2015. That is my mantra for 2015. Getting in, disrupting what's happening with your competition. Getting in and finish and winning some of that work. So we'll be talking about that and the processes for that. So real quick, go to isiFederal. Finally got that working for Hal. Had a heck of a time with that for some reason, but I think we got that iced down. Get the free ebook. Reach out to Revolution Payment Systems if you're using credit cards. That's bottom line money. I'm talking bottom line money. Because if you're paying 3% and you can bust that down to 1.5%, that's real cash. Bottom line money. And we appreciate you being here to find out how to get those pieces going. Let's get out there, get successful about this, and you could have this face of pure accomplishment as well. Thanks for joining us. We are actually on time. Amazing. We're actually on time. So get out there, get working. I got stuff I got to turn around for later today, so I can't really hang around for much. Feel free to shoot me an email. Give us a call at 888-9-GET-ISI. Reach out to Jamie Zell if he can be of assistance on those GSA schedules. Tell us about those GSA schedules and maintenance, the importance of that, Jamie, before we jump.
Real quick, maintaining your schedule, very important. There are work tasks to be done about that and things to consider, including economic price adjustments to make sure that you maintain the margin that you should be getting, which are oftentimes thin in your GSA offering as you show most favored pricing. So we offer a full array of services to manage your GSA schedule if you have one, and if you don't have one and need one, we do that service as well. Certainly feel free to reach out to me, give me a call, send me an email. Love to be able to help you with your own GSA schedule needs, and our team can get the job done and make sure that you're maximizing your GSA schedule as you go through the life cycle of that.
And real quick, to piggyback on what Jamie just said, if you have a GSA schedule and your profits are thin, we want to revisit that schedule because there's ways to be able to enhance your profitability, one, and two, make sure that anything that you're adding on there, you're not putting on there with those super razor thin margins. A lot of folks go in and they think that they got to compete with the other people in the marketplace, so they got to be cheaper than the guy down the street. That's not necessarily true. And if you know about how GSA schedules are really support for your company and your contracting and your sales process, you'll understand that you'll never be always the cheapest. There's always going to be somebody that's going to come in a penny or two cheaper. So let's make sure we get you profitable in your numbers. Profitability is key. Revenue doesn't mean jack if you're not making money on it. So let's keep that in mind. So I appreciate that, Jamie. Thank you everybody for joining us. Enjoy the rest of September. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us, give us a call, and we'll make sure that we respond.